might call me nuts, but I'm doing another 24-hour reading challenge because I think it's fun. The truth of the matter is, May is a very, very heavy release month. Like, this is the list of galleys I have that are coming out this month. That's a shitload. I'm never gonna be able to get to all of them in the month of May, but considering I thought this year would be fun to do a lot more like new releases videos rather than just like my most anticipated ones that I do like halfway and at the end of the year in the past, I thought it'd also be fun to combine my reading anticipated releases video with a 24-hour readathon challenge, because like I said, I like doing those until I'm at the very end of them, then I'm kind of tired of them, but I do actually really like doing them. And considering this is a really long list and I'm otherwise never gonna get through, I thought it would be fun to just read May releases for 24 hours. I will say I am doing a timer method because staying awake for 24 hours sounds like hell to me, so don't put me through that. Also, I am sick just a little bit, and all I want to do is just lay down on my bed in the dark with my iPad and just read. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to do that for this. I do have to say I have a different phone from when I previously done 24-hour readathons, so I hope the timer is not gonna fuck me up, but here it is, looking pretty. And yeah, I'll be reading until this hits 24 hours, which is not. But yeah, because I'm sick, I am wanting to start with something a little bit more simple to read. So I have decided to go with It's a Love Story by Annabel Monaghan. Let me read you like the synopsis from Storygraph to tell you what it is about. Love is a lie, laughter is the only truth. Jane Jackson spends her adolescence as poor Janie Jakes, the barbecue sauce and abrasive punchline on America's fifth favorite sitcom. Now she's trying to be taken seriously as a Hollywood studio executive by embracing a new mantra: fake it till you make it. Except she might have faked it too far. Desperate to get her first project greenlit and riled up by pompous cinematographer and one-time crush Dan Finnegan, she claimed that she could get a mega pop star Jack Quinlan to write a song for the movie. Jack may have been the first kiss and greatest source of shame, but she hasn't spoken to him in 20 years. Now Jane must turn to the last man she'd ever want to owe, Dan Finnegan, because Jack is playing a festival in Dan's hometown and Dan has an inn. A week in close quarters with Dan as she faces down her past is Jane's idea of hell, but he might just surprise her. While covering up her lie, Kelly finds something true. And I'm saying this is something like easy because it is a romance. Those tend to be like not as taxing on the brain, you know. And I've read an Annabel Monaghan before and I flew through that, so I'm hoping that that will also be the case for this one. It is, according to Storygraph, 368 pages, and honestly, medium to fast paced. Like, it's majority medium but fast. Also, it's like 35%, which is quite a lot. So I'm presuming this will go by relatively easily to ease myself into this challenge. So I'm gonna press currently reading, so that is set, and then I'm starting the timer. I told you I wanted to be in the dark. I literally opened my curtain to talk to you just now, like earlier, and closed it immediately after because I can be bothered. But when doing a 24-hour readathon, I was like doing a 1-hour update, and that's this. I'm an hour in. I am 29% of the way through It's a Love Story when Kindle says I have 2 hours and 19 minutes left. So you know, it's a race. I can check now how quickly I read the book. But I'm having so much fun with it. Definitely the right choice to start things off with. It's very addicting. Like, I had to literally tear myself away from the screen to be able to do this update because I was having such a good time. I think it's such a compelling read, and I really just adore the dynamic between a main character and a love interest. I think there's so much fun, and then on top of that, we are spending time. We just now basically have got introduced to the love interest family who are spending a lot of time with, and they are so much fun. And yes, I'm loving it so far. Hi, excuse my look, but I literally just woke up because I finished my book yesterday as the clock struck midnight. That's late, so I didn't really feel like talking to you, but I did get to 3 hours 15 minutes, which is a little bit faster than Kindle said, so there's that. I mean, they estimated 3 hours 19, so it's like 4 minutes, but still I say it as an accomplishment. And of course, I finished the book. It's a love story by Annabel Monaghan. I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. I had such a good time with it, and it genuinely was like the perfect read for what I needed in the moment. I read it extremely quickly. I didn't want to put it down. As you can tell, I read it in 1 day, which, considering I'm still a little bit sick, impressive. And I just had such a good time with it. I really loved the banter between my main character and the love interest. I thought that was great. They were so cute together, and I shipped them so much. Like, honestly, I was rooting for them so hard throughout this book. And then I also really enjoyed the time spent with his family, because they were such an eclectic bunch, but it was so much fun. And she fit right in, and I absolutely loved the dynamic as well. And then the whole storyline of them going after like this singer that she used to know to be able to get a song for the soundtrack for this movie was a bit lackluster. I do have to say that. I do at times felt like the author kind of forgot about it, and I was like, oh yeah, wait, we're doing this. And I felt a bit odd. But there are a lot of discussions around main characters, like self-confidence and self-worth, that I thought were really interesting. And then I spent a lot of perusal on Storygraph to kind of figure out what my next read is, what I'm in the mood for, and I decided to land on Come As You Are by Dahlia Adler. This is a YA contemporary, and just the synopsis sounds like a really fun time, so I'm gonna read it to you, and then I'm gonna read the book, if that makes sense. Hot on the heels of a broken heart, Everett Evie Riley arrives at Camden Academy, ready for a new beginning, one far away from a cheating ex-boyfriend, the sister who stole him, and the best friend who let it happen. But a fresh start is stopped in its tracks when she accidentally placed in an all-boys dorm with no choice but to stay. When rumors and gossip about Evie's housing predicament spread like wildfire, she decides the only way to survive is to lean into a questionable new reputation. But he's definitely going to require help. A grumpy emo dorm mate, Salem Grayson, isn't exactly her first choice, but he does need her help to repair his relationship with his parents every bit as much as she needs his to learn how to be cool, and so they make a pact. He'll teach her how to be bad if she teaches him how to be good. It's a flawless plan, except while Salem thrives academically, even romantically, and annoyingly enough, even physically, Evie's quest feels like one dead end after another, and the girl she's becoming certainly doesn't feel remotely cool. But when Evie realizes what she wants more than anything, she'll have to contend with a twice broken heart and figure out how to become someone capable of chasing happiness. Doesn't that sound like a fun time? I think it does. Storygraph also has like fast to medium pacing for this book, so I think, again, it's not like a requirement for a book that I want to read right now, but it's 320 pages on like the relatively short side. It has faster pacing, and I feel like that's still good, because even though this brain is getting fired up again, it still needs a little bit more time to like, it needs like a little extra boost to fully, you know, blast off. I don't know, not making sense. Good morning, lovely people. Yes, it's another morning. Yesterday didn't end up going to plan, but that's fine. I did manage to read for just under another hour, so that's 4 hours and 10 minutes technically, and I got 25% of the way through Come As You Are. It's fine so far. I do have to say it is mostly just doing the setup right now, which makes sense in the first quarter, so I'm excited to delve more into like the actual meat of the story. I do have to say I really enjoy the banter between our cast of characters, just like the friend group is just there, and I'm having a blast. Like, they just met and they talk like they've been friends for 10 years, but I don't give a shit. It's such a fun time. But I do have bad news, because like I said, yesterday didn't go the way I planned, which means that my errands ended up taking longer than I thought they would. And then when I came home from those errands I ran, I technically still had a lot of time to read, but my allergies were killing me, and I have seasonal allergies, and it means my eyes were very dried up and tired, and I did not want to read, so I didn't. I apologize. And now I have to put this vlog on pause, because originally because I was sick, I started this a bit earlier because it's what I wanted to do, but my original plan was to start this video next week after I done the video I'm about to do now, which is to read my library books before they have to be returned to the library. So I have to put this on pause because those books are not waiting on me. They have a time limit. So I'm gonna film that right now, and I'm actually very glad that I started this video before, not just because it got me a head start on my original plan, but also because now I just feel much more excited to read than I did before starting this video. Like, it already kind of kickstart me in like a very big reading mood. So I'm hoping that will translate over to that video and I'll be able to read those books before they have to be returned to the library, because that's the point. I'm back! I finished my library video yesterday. It is a day earlier than I originally predicted. I did say I'll see you Tuesday, but I did think it was probably going to take until Monday, which is today, to film my video. I'm really glad I was on with it yesterday because today was so busy. Oh my god, I've been wanting to update you all day, but I didn't know I had to run some errands today. Y'all, I stayed occupied the entire day. I am so sorry, but it is now literally 11 p.m. But I want to get this counter up. I really desperately want to read. Like I said, I've been wanting to update you all day, which means I've been wanting to read all day as well, because I can't start reading until I told you that I'm back in this game. So I think I'm gonna try and read for at least like an hour maybe before bed. Hello beautiful people, it is the next day. I did manage to do what I set out to do, and that is to read another hour last night. Look at that, I finished just before midnight, which was great for me. It's 5 hours and 3 minutes, which technically is 1 or 2 minutes less than a full hour, but it's an hour extra tacked on to the counter, you know. And I got up to 50% of Come As You Are, which is halfway through, which I'm also really excited about. That was kind of like my stretch goal for the day, and I'm really glad I managed to get through that in an hour. This is very quick to read so far, obviously, and also very, very funny. Like, I find myself like sniffling quite a lot while reading this book. I just think personally at this moment in time, I feel like we are a bit more into the story. I feel like it's very repetitive, and there are certain elements that the main character just like keeps coming back to, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, I get the point now. Why are we doing this again? And then I also feel like the characters are a bit one-dimensional. I feel like I want just a little bit more from them, but I am having a good time so far, and I think I am going to finish this one up right now, and then I'll talk to you when I'm done. Hi, so that fell. As promised, I finished Come As You Are by Dahlia Adler. I'm at 6 hours 37 minutes, which means I'm actually quarter of the way through the challenge. But let's go. I mean, over it. But there we go. I'm making good progress. But I finished Come As You Are, and I'm giving this book 3 stars. I thought it was fine. Like I said, it's very funny. That's the main thing that's going for it. But I do feel like the characters are just a tad bit underdeveloped. I didn't also thought the romance was a tad bit underdeveloped. I felt like the chemistry wasn't fully there. Like, they had a great dynamic, but it read very much more platonic than romantic style, you know, and I just wanted that a little bit more to it. But overall, I did think it was a really good time, and I had a blast reading it. So it's a 3 star. It's there, it exists. I need to film my book haul, which is these books I just fell over, and I have to edit that. And then I also really want to try and edit my library vlog as well today, so then I don't have any work to do anymore this week. When it comes to videos, I can just do this one. So I'm gonna do that right now, and then once I'm done with all of that, I probably will have picked my next read. Hi, it is the next day. I'm sorry for not updating you last night about what I picked up, but truth of the matter is, I was in such a conflict with myself. I didn't really know what I wanted to read, and I read like the synopsis of multiple books, some even twice, because I was just so unsure of what I was in the mood for, what I wanted to read. I did read last night. I'm at 8 hours now and 6 minutes, so you know, some progress. And I decided to pick up All Superheroes Need PR by Elizabeth Stevens. So I'll read you the synopsis right now. Over 2 decades ago, 48 young gifted superheroes fell to Earth and were eventually marketed as opposing brands, heroes and villains. Now one exceptionally gruff bad guy is looking to hub teams. Hello, PR director Vanessa Theriot. His real name is Roland Castile, aka the Pyro. First swap that with the last incinerating the Wyvern, next put him in spandex to highlight that near godlike body, finally give that hero in training a heroine. If Vanessa will play the part in a pretend romance guaranteed to make the city swoon, she's game. As shy as Vanessa is, it's her job to be Roland's very own Louis Lane. Who knew that fake dating would change their worlds? But falling head over heels for real makes for a dangerous shift in the narrative. A monstrous supervillain is bringing out Roland's bad side again. This time, it's to save a woman who, against all the odds, is becoming a human love of a superhero life. Doesn't that sound fun? It does, doesn't it? Well, I'm 35% of the way through this book, but I don't like it. I'm not gonna DNF it because I do feel like, you know, I don't know, I want to see where it ends up going, but I checked and this author typically writes a lot of like alien and monster romances, and I feel like that's very obvious while reading this. This isn't like a cutesy fun superhero rom-com. It really isn't. This guy is so possessive, so primal, if that makes sense, and that's just something I don't like. I really don't. You know, I want my humans to be humans, not animals. I'm not a biggest fan of it. Luckily, we only got one chapter in his POV so far, but I know there's more coming, and I'm really not looking forward to that because that was a rough chapter to read. Even besides that, I just think the writing is a bit messy, if that makes sense. Like, I find it hasn't really gripped me in, and it's hard for it to grip me because it kind of feels like a whirlwind, and I don't always know what's happening. Like, I don't know, sometimes I'll read a sentence and I'm like, oh wait, how did we get here? Because it feels very chaotic, the writing, and that's also not my favorite. Adler, our female main character, does kind of feel like a bumbling mess. Like, I get it, she has social anxiety, but why do we need to make her such incompetent of a human? Like, she messes up everything. Like I said, I do think at this point I am curious enough about the storyline to continue on with it, but don't be shocked if I come back to you in like 10 minutes saying I DNF'd this book. We'll see. We're going to my grandparents today because it's my grandmother's birthday, and we're leaving in about an hour, so I will take that hour to read as much of this book as I can and want to. If I end up DNFing it, it's fine. It is. Yeah, I didn't even need those full 10 minutes that I told you about. I'm DNFing this. I really am. I mean, I only am like 1% for them at 36 now. And it definitely didn't help that I immediately delved into the guy's POV chapter because it's so much more rough than the women characters. But with a clear mind, I can say this is insufferable. It's not necessarily bad, it's just really, really not my thing. Hi, I'm ashamed to give you this update because it is the next day and I've got no excuse. I should have updated you yesterday to tell you what I was gonna read next. I'm so sorry. But after DNFing All Superheroes Need PR, I decided to pick up You Started It by Jackie Khalilieh. I'm so sorry I mispronounced that author's name. I really am. But this is a YA contemporary book. It's also fake dating, and I read and loved this author's previous book, so I thought this was just gonna be more of a recipe of success than the superheroes book. So let me read you the synopsis though. 17-year-old Jamie Thaher Foster has big plans for senior year. She's made a list of things and places in Toronto she and a boyfriend of 3 years, Ben Cameron, need to check off before graduating. And the biggest plan of all, a very special night for the two of them at the upcoming winter formal. But then Ben arrives back home from a summer away with an unthinkable announcement. He wants to break up. And when Jamie discovers him with Olivia Chen the next day, she's determined to get him back, even if that means fake dating the younger curly-haired TikTok dancer Axel Dahini, whose bicycle she accidentally ran over. Though she and Axel have nothing in common aside from their shared air of paradise, she's a messy type A with anxiety, he's carefree but meticulous. Their forced time together brings them to better understand one another. And for Jamie, it just might mean learning that not all experiences or people need to be crossed off a list. So yeah, I did read until we had to leave yesterday. So I hit 9 hours, which is something. And I got 21% of the way through this book, which is very much still in its setup stages. But I'm enjoying it. I'm having a good time. I'm excited to continue reading with it. And then in the evening, I was planning to read all evening, but I noticed here in Belgium, we get Abbott Elementary in 2 batches typically. For some reason, we get the first half of the season and then we have a little bit of a break and then we have the second half of the season. And I noticed the second drop had dropped on Disney Plus, so I watched Abbott. And also, to be fair, I had some stuff to do, so I also watched Abbott Elementary in the background while doing those things. But I could have done those things today as well, but I wanted to watch Abbott Elementary, so I did that. But turns out, it's not the full season yet. There's still episodes. There's gotta be a third batch. This pisses me off. I want to watch Abbott just like the rest of the world. Leave me alone. Anyway, therefore I didn't do any more reading after, like, in the evening yesterday. But also because I managed to get my entire to-do list done yesterday while watching Abbott, I have nothing to do today, like absolutely zero. And yeah, we're gonna make the biggest dent in this timer you have ever seen, I promise you. So yeah, my goal is to at least hit the halfway mark, which is 12 hours, which I think is doable if I actually, like, you know, set my mind to it and read. I generally think 12 hours to hit that, I will have finished my book now. So I think that is doable. I was wrong. I finished You Started It, and I haven't hit the 12-hour mark yet. I'm not far off, but it's not 12 yet. So we are immediately moving on to our next read, but let's first talk about You Started It, what I thought of it. I give it 4 stars. I really enjoyed this. I think I like this more than Something More, which is this other book, but it was just a really great read. I really liked our main character. I thought she was a very interesting character to follow. I loved the setup of it. I thought the romance was cute. I do have to say, why it's not a 5 stars, because I do think the romance is feels a bit rushed. It feels like the least thought out part of the story, sadly enough, and considering kind of the whole thing does kind of hinge on it, it is a bit disappointing that didn't feel as strongly executed as other parts of this book. But the discussions around heritage and family I thought were really well done in this book, and I generally quite well reading it towards the ending. So there was that. I really liked it. So there's that. I also went and washed my hair because I thought the construction would be done by the time of that, and it is. But for some reason they're making noise outside again, so I apologize. But because I'm technically almost halfway through the challenge, I thought I'd give you an update on how I broke the spine of that. I think that's it. That made a noise. I thought I'd show you the progress on this. Not great. 3 checked out. I technically 4 checked out, but this is a crossword DLF, and 3 called in for a read, so that's something. But there's still a lot of empty boxes, so there's still progress to be made. I am generally scared about my journal. And a lot of fun fact is that You Started It was my 50th read of the year, which also pushed me at the halfway mark for my reading challenge. So we're full of halfways, except not fully on the timer yet, so we're gonna fix that. I already picked out my next read. I was feeling like something queer. I don't know why. I haven't read a queer book yet, and I do have a lot of queer books on this list, so maybe that's why. But I wanted something queer, so I picked out Get Real Chloe Torres by Crystal Maldonado. I'm so sorry if I butchered that name. I'm really bad at pronouncing names, you guys, just in general. But Storygraph is done, so Goodreads to the rescue, I guess, for once in its life. Chloe Torres' birthday has always marked the end of summer, but as she turns 18 and prepares to leave for her freshman year of art school, it feels like the end of more than that. It's the end of her adolescence, which means it's time to leave the past behind. But can she really let go of the 2 estranged best friends she left there? Nope. Chloe decides to take one more shot at healing the friend breakup she's always regretted, planning the bucket list trip neither girl can say no to. She's taken care of everything: the car, the hotels, and the concert ticket to see their favorite boy band's reunion show in Las Vegas. Stage seats so close they can fangle right in front of the boys' faces. But first, her ex-BFFs have to say yes. And to say yes, they all have to be talking, which they haven't done since Ramona kissed Chloe and everything imploded. But with some clever finagling and some undignified begging, Chloe gets them all on board. Of course, being in a car together for 2 weeks brings back old feelings. A lot of old feelings. And soon enough, Chloe wants Sienna, Ramona wants Chloe, and everything is on fire. Which, you know, sounds like a fun time. According to Goodreads, it's 240 pages. It is YA contemporary. I'm all for it. I also, looking at other books by this author, I've definitely seen good things about some of these books. So I am very excited to give this a read. I have good news and I have good news because I finally passed the 12-hour mark. I'm at 13 hours and 5 minutes. I read just a little bit over an hour, and then I had dinner with my mom, and then, as I mentioned before, after dinner I always watch TV with her a little bit. And now I'm back in bed, I'm back to reading. Also good news, Storygraph is working again! I really just prefer Storygraph over Goodreads by far. But that means I can tell you a bit more about Get Real Chloe Torres, because its first 2 moods are lighthearted and funny, which is kind of what I'm in a mood for. Before picking up this book, I debated between a couple of books that just seemed a bit more emotionally hard-hitting, and that wasn't really what the vibe I was looking for at the time. So it's good that the first 2 markers are lighthearted and funny, and it's also like fast to medium pace, no slow pace at all from the people. But sorry, I've also said 240 pages, but you know, I could have also told you all that myself, because I am like 47% of the way through this book already in that short amount of time. Like, it is just such a quick read, and like 240 pages is like the largest page count, so that's like what, 120 pages is half of it, so a little under that. I really tried it in 50% before didn't manage it. It's 47. But this is a fun time. It is definitely very fast paced, and therefore, you know, it never really lingers too much on things. Like, it moves on pretty quickly, and maybe depending honestly on how this ends, I do feel like there's gonna be a book where like my complaint is that it's like in depth, but again, could be one that could come in the second half. I don't know, but I think right now, just it's fun. It's a really fun time. The dynamic between their three friends, or like ex-friends I should say, is actually really interesting, and I'm really liking exploring that. But we're only where I am on like the first day of that road trip. Like, technically we're like at the start of the second day of that road trip, so I feel like a lot more is going to go down. And you also fear that, even though the synopsis said it was a love triangle, I fear the romantic storyline is very obvious to me where that's gonna go. So there is that. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, but you know, that is a thing. And yeah, I don't know, I'm having a good time, but if I had to put a rating on it right now, it would be a 3. Hello, so we are at the 14-hour and 28-minute mark. I just finished my book. I finished Get Real, Chloe Torres, and this ended up being a 3-star, just like I predicted. I do think this book was very fast-paced. It was very fun. I actually think when it comes to just like the whole friendship element, I thought that was really well done. I just thought the romance was a little bit unnecessary. I feel like that was very underdone and just underdeveloped and happened very quickly, and that's where just like the ultra fast pacing of this book really made its downfall, and therefore it's a 3-star for me, because you know, that's a big element they also failed to deliver on, and because we took away time to try and spend on the romance, it also took away time from the things that I felt like were a bit stronger in this book. So ultimately, I generally think this would have been better if it just focused on the friendship, because there's a lot going on there and a lot to unpack there, and I feel like we definitely brushed over some things and just skip out on the romance. That really wasn't necessary. But if you're looking for a really fun queer YA read, like, this is definitely a recommendation. And honestly, this might sound like a weird connection, but I have already picked my next read, and so this is one that actually I've been eyeing this entire time I'm doing this, but this is one that I say that does deal with a bit more emotionally heavy topics, and therefore I haven't really been ready to delve into things. But the main character's cousin slash best friend in his book is a drag queen, and we get very small hints of that, and therefore I've been meaning to, I want more of that vibe. So next read is gonna be Disco Witches of Fire Island by Blair. There was a drag queen on the cover of this, and I better be drag queen in the story. Let me read you the description. It's 1989, and Joe, a Gabian, and his best friend Wani set out to spend their first summer working in the hedonistic gay paradise of Fire Island Pine. Joe is desperate to let loose and finally move beyond the heartbreak of having lost his boyfriend to the HIV/AIDS epidemic. The two friends are quickly taken in by a pair of quirky older house cleaners, but something seems off, and Joe starts to suspect the two older men of being up to something otherworldly. In truth, Howie and Lenny are members of a secret disco witch coven tasked with protecting the island, and young men like Joe from the relentless tragedies ravaging their communities. The only problem is, having lost too many of their fellow witches to the epidemic, the coven's protective powers have been seriously damaged. Unaware of all the mystical shenanigans going on, Joe starts to fall for the super cute bisexual ferryman who just happens to have webbed feet and an unusual ability to hold his breath underwater. But Joe's longing to find love is stripped up by his own troublesome past, as well as the lure of a mysterious hunk he keeps seeing around the island. A man Howie and Lenny warn may be a harbinger of impending doom. The disco witches need to find help fast if they're to save Joe and the island from the great darkness. But how? I don't know, it sounds really fun, but at the same time, it does deal a lot with the, like, from the synopsis, I feel like it is gonna delve into the HIV/AIDS epidemic, and the first tag on Subgraph is emotional. So that's what's been putting me off on it a little bit. But the other two, like the next tag is funny, so I'm hoping good things. It is like medium paced, so not that fast, but I'm so excited to read it. It's 252 pages, and I don't know, it just sounds like the thing I'm in the mood for right now. Hello, it is the next day. I didn't read that much last night of the Disc Witches of Fire Island because I'm gonna be completely honest with you, I was really tired last night. And I only managed to get to 8% of the book, which is 14 hours 54 minutes. I was so tired, and I feel like I was reading very slowly because of that as well. But today I do have some small tasks to do, so it's not gonna be a full day of reading like yesterday, but I don't have a whole lot to do today, so I'm still gonna try and read as much as I can and try and get as far as I can in this book as well, because I am kind of liking the setup we have, but obviously 8% of the way is nothing, so I'm excited to continue on and of course have this time going. It is the next day, and I feel I've gotten to the point in the challenge where I'm burned out. I really yesterday was not feeling it. I don't know what it was, but every time I opened my book I just zoned out. I just started falling asleep, and it wasn't that I was tired, because as soon as I did a lot of activity, hype, but then I tried going back to my book and I was just like, whoop. I don't know what was happening yesterday, but like I said, I do feel like I'm at the point where I want this to be over. I did manage to read something though yesterday, not as much as I wanted to, but still like a good chunk. My timer is at 16 hours 37 minutes, and I am 49% of the way through my book. And I do also have to say that the fact that I'm getting burned out, this book is not helpful because it's so slow. It is so slow moving and it waffles so much. Half of the time that I'm reading this book, I'm like, I don't know what the point is. So yeah, I'm not saying I'm having a bad time, because I do think some interesting stuff are happening, but it's one-dimensional characters, very slow moving plot, and just a lot of waffling and like being sidetracked, and I'm like, what are we doing? So it's definitely not the best book to be reading at this point in the challenge, I feel like, but I'm gonna persevere. I'm gonna push through. I do have to say, Gavin from Gavin Reads It All went live for Reading Sprints yesterday, and you know, I didn't have the energy to join him last night, so I'm rewatching it, keeping track on this notepad on how much I'm reading. I really like doing that. Did someone else do that? Like keep track of how much they read during reading sprints? I don't know, but I like it. So I am fully quacked in and good to go, and I'm hoping that this will help me motivate me to read, because it is with little breaks and everything, so it's not like I'm reading non-stop, but I am still like getting hours in. So hopefully this will motivate me to finish the book. I'll update you once I finish it. Okay, so I finished my book as promised, so here I am with an update. I'm at 18 hours 27, which means I feel like we're in the home stretch. Like there's still quite a lot of hours to go, but I feel like we're in the home stretch, so at least that feels great. But I finished the Disc Witches of Fire Island, and I gave it 2 stars. I feel like that's probably pretty predictable based on, you know, my thoughts on it earlier. Didn't really change. Just, I think this book is so slow and nothing happens in it. Like generally the events are like, this could have been a novella and the same things would have happened in it. It just goes on and on and on about nothing for so long. And I think it's a shame, because I do definitely think there's potential within this book. I thought the whole like magic system and like the witches stuff was all very interesting, and I really loved those moments. I felt like they were very atmospheric and just really well done, but there was so few of her in between, and it's just like, what are we doing? And then the characters feel very one-dimensional. I also disliked like 99% of all the characters. Like, it was such assholes. At least it's such mean shit to each other, and then forgave each other like it was nothing. And you know, I don't know what it's like to be a gay person in the 80s, but like, damn, you're very lonely if you accept that behavior from your so-called friends. That's fucked. So yeah, this sadly enough just really wasn't for me, and again, I hate it because I feel like there's so much potential within this book, just didn't really reach it. So let me tell you about my next read. I spent so long on Storygraph reading synopses because I wanted this next read to be perfect, and I don't know if it will be. But this does sound like a really fun book, and it's called Learning to Fall by Peach Morris. Let me give you the synopsis. 18-year-old Cassie feels stuck while her friends are all going to university. She's taking a gap year at home to take care for her disabled mother. Then she walks in on her boyfriend blatantly cheating on her. Surprisingly, she's not as heartbroken as she should be, and when a chance encounter with the girl he cheated with, the pretty and confident Imogen, includes both an apology and a tentative extension of friendship, Cassie realizes her life may be about to change. Imogen convinces Cassie to tag along one night to catch her roller derby team. Cassie finds herself surrounded by fearless women and non-binary teammates who aren't afraid to speak their minds and body slam each other. Her friends and family aren't so sure about all the injuries, but she doesn't care. There's something magic about the sport and this team. Plus, she soon finds herself nursing a serious question on the very magnetic Imogen. Can Cassie become a brand new, stronger, more confident version of herself? And will dating a teammate lead to a winning season or total heartbreak? So, the top moods on Sarugaiv are emotional, hopeful, inspiring, which, you know, does sound a bit more hard-hitting than I was expecting from the synopsis. But the pacing is like medium, mostly a bit fast. So, I don't know, I think it's gonna get me going, you know? It's 340 pages, so also not too long. Somebody please send help, because I feel like I'm cursed. I don't know what's going on, but it's nothing good. I do have one good piece of news. That's that I've hit the 20-hour mark, which means I only have 4 hours left. I swear to God, I keep forgetting just how exhausting this feels when you're in that final stretch. Like, it is. God. Now I understand why every time after I'm doing one of these videos, I go, never again. But then, you know, time passes, I'm like, but maybe. And now I feel crazy again. Like, why is this so soul-crushing? I don't know. Anyway, something that doesn't help either is that I finished my book, which was called Learning to Fall. I genuinely had to think on that. I just wrote that down in my journal. The market is finished. Already forgot the title. I give this a 1 star, and I feel so harsh because I feel like typically when I read books 1 star, I actively hate it. That's definitely not the case with this, but I just think it was very terribly written, which feels shy to say because God knows I couldn't do any better. I'm a terrible writer, but this was just a bunch of random scenes thrown together in a book, barely resembling a plot, having no thread throughout it at all. Every character was super one-dimensional. It was also very repetitive of a book. So many plot threads kind of got dropped randomly for no reason. There was no sense of conflict because as soon as like a fight happened in the scene, like the next scene, it was all good. I mean, I didn't even properly see that makeup. Like, you know what I mean? There was just, I don't know. There was no meat to the stories. It was very, very bare bones, which just didn't make for a great reading experience. And now you're probably asking, why did you finish this? Because at like 20%, I felt like I was going insane. And I was seeing if I should DNF this or not. Because I'm like, there's no way every book I read is bad. So I went on Sorrygraph, I looked at reviews. All the reviews were pretty positive. There was only one person saying they DNF'd it, and even though I agreed with a lot of their points of view and they got further into the book, so that made me doubt it, but like considering literally everything else was really positive, I was like, I'm missing something. You know, this happens sometimes. It generally has happened before where like earlier on in the book I was like, I want to DNF this, but reviews I was like, I'm gonna continue because everybody seems to love it, and I pushed through and it ended up being great. This was not. But now I feel like extra cursed because I feel like, how do I fill another 4 hours? I'm exhausted. I don't want to read a book ever again. And like, it doesn't help that I'm just like not liking anything that I'm reading. I generally don't think like my exhaustion from the reading challenge is influencing my thoughts on books. I generally think my thoughts on the books is influencing my exhaustion for this reading challenge, if that makes sense. Because it's never been this bad. And I'm tired. Anyway, let me tell you about my next read. I at first was gonna pick up All's Fair in Love and Field Hockey, which is another YA contemporary that is like sports focused, obviously, hence the title. But I felt like, considering how much of a flop Learning to Fall was, I wanted something very different. So instead, I'm picking up Time Loops and Meet Cute by Jackie Lau, which is 352 pages. So it could potentially be my last book, depends on how the pacing is, how quickly I read it. But let me read you the synopsis. Noelle Tom really shouldn't have eaten those dumplings at the night market, but the old woman at the stall said they'd give her what she needed most, and what Noelle desperately needed after another long work week was food. Except now she's reliving the same Friday. Every morning her alarm goes off at 6:45, and the wordle answer is always happy. Worst of all, any work she does at a job as an engineer, it's erased when she wakes up. Monday might never come in this workaholic's nightmare. Noelle has no idea how being trapped in a time loop is the thing she needed most, and a trip to the food stall doesn't seem to help because there's no sign of it. Then she meets good-looking Kim, who appears in multiple places on a Friday. While the brewery owner seems to have no memory of their encounters, there are signs he must be the key to getting unstuck. But Noelle can't figure out how, even when she steps outside of her comfort zone and lives a little. As she grows attached to him, she becomes more worried that she'll never escape the loop and he'll never recall her name. And if she does ever get out, can they be together in the real world? There we go. So it's an adult romance with like a speculative element to it. It's kind of, I want to say it's kind of reminding me of the 7-year slip, but then like not. Because in a 7-year slip, she's not on the time loop. I don't know, something about it is reminding me of the 7-year slip. And yeah, it was between this and another book that I mentioned, just like always, for what I'm presuming to be my last book option, but I need something different and YA contemporary that revolves around sports. I'm sure that other book is great as well. I don't know. I might read it if this doesn't hit me to the 24-hour mark, but anyway, that's what I'm reading. I'll get you once I'm into it. I don't know what I'll be doing. I'm tired of this vlog. It is the next day. I did a video about last night because I barely read anything. Like, I was really tired, and as soon as I started the book I was like, oh, I'm too tired to read, so I didn't do much more. But I have been reading all morning, and I'm at 22 hours and 4 minutes, maybe only 2 hours left. I actually feel hopeful. I also forgot to look at the percentage of the book I'm in. I'm so sorry, but I'm over the halfway mark. I'm officially at part 2 of the book, and things are getting interesting. I am currently about to go take my lunch break, and then afterwards I'm finishing this challenge and finishing this book. But first, let me give you my thoughts on this book so far. I like it. I think it's interesting. The whole time loop aspect is interesting, but I was getting to a point where I felt like I was getting a bit bored with it. But then, like I said, the end of part 1 does something, and now I just want to keep reading. So that's why I'm taking my lunch break now, so I'll just like be able to fly through it as soon as I'm done eating, you know. But honestly, I like the main character. I like the love interest. Although, you know, being in a time loop makes the whole romance thing a bit difficult. There's also another woman in a time loop with her, and I love that friendship that has developed there. And I'm very curious to figure out what's going on, because throughout this first part, besides just our main character's POV, we've also been getting like very small snippets from the love interest POV, but from different points in the year. And it basically constantly revolves around him having this feeling that he missed out on his great love, which obviously is going to be a main character, but I'm very curious how that's all gonna figure itself out, you know, and especially after what's happening right now. And I still have half an hour left. This is literally okay. So as I mentioned in my little in-between update, I guess it wasn't a proper update, I finished my book. I also took a shower, washed my hair, so that's why it's wet, no other reason. But I finished Time Loops and Meet Cutes by Jackie Lau. This ended up being a 4-star, thank god. I needed a win. That second half definitely was very intriguing, was different turn that I thought this book was gonna take, but I'm really glad that is the direction I ended up taking, because I feel like it served a better purpose for the romance, if that makes sense. I also just really liked the way it was resolved. I, as I mentioned before, liked the cast of characters, loved the friendship as well between our main character and Avery. I thought that was such a great element of this book, and like not at all what I was expecting, but I had so much fun reading that. And I also thought the romance was cute. I do think that the love interest, even though I liked him, I feel like I wanted a bit more depth from him, and also a bit more depth from the romance ultimately. But overall, I think considering this is a time loop romance where only one person is in a time loop, I feel like it was executed really well. I'm glad we ended this on a high, because yes, I ended it like this. I'm not turning out a book. It's not worth it for half an hour. I just purely for thumbnail reasons, because it looks better, let this run to 24 hours, but I feel satisfied with this video. In fact, I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders and it's finally done. Oh my god, now I just have to edit this beast, but I don't know. I do want to show you how my list turned out. As you can tell, there's still a lot of blank slots, but I feel accomplished by actually how many we managed to mark off. I read 7 books in total and DNF'd 1, so that's 8 books of this massive list, which is great in my opinion. So there we go. The only thing that isn't great is my ratings. It's a mess. I don't want to think about it. I really don't. This was a bit of a disappointment. I have 3 4-stars though, which I think is semi-successful, but I feel like all the rest just bogs it down so much, and I don't know. I also, especially because there was a lot of books that I had high hopes for that just ended up falling flat for me. But I am glad I did this video. I hope you enjoyed it as well. You got some thoughts on some May releases. Some are out already, some aren't. I'm so sorry that I didn't really mention that, but they'll all be out by the end of the month. That's the fun part. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you read any of these books, what you thought of them, as well as like some of your most anticipated May releases. And then hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye.
Here I am again, the same old situation. Why does the God thing have to be so complicated? Should